Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. High in the mountains, ancient ice is melting, and as it disappears, it's revealing secrets that have been locked away for thousands of years. This isn't science fiction. It's the very real, very urgent field of cryo-archaeology, a scientific treasure hunt at the frontier of climate change. For millennia, glaciers and high-altitude ice patches have acted as perfect natural deep freezers. Now, as global temperatures rise, these freezers are failing. But in doing so, they are giving up their dead and their artifacts in a state of preservation that is rewriting human history. We're talking about organic materials like wood, leather, and textiles that would normally rot away in centuries, emerging from the ice, as if they were lost only yesterday. This has sparked a race against time. The very forces that expose these relics also threaten to destroy them within days. Today, we're exploring the incredible world of cryo-archaeology, from the artifacts that are emerging from the ice to the global hotspots where history is literally melting before our eyes. The term cryo-archaeology comes from the Greek kryos, for icy cold. It's a relatively new field, and its birth can be traced back to one sensational discovery. In 1991, hikers in the Ötztal Alps, on the border of Austria and Italy, stumbled upon a human body emerging from the ice. This wasn't a modern mountaineer. This was Ötzi the Iceman, a naturally mummified man who lived over 300 years ago. Ötzi was a complete Copper Age time capsule. He had his clothing, his tools, even his last meal preserved in his stomach. The sheer volume of scientific data from this one man was staggering. It showed archaeologists the immense potential of what lay frozen in the world's mountains. Ötzi wasn't an isolated miracle. He was the first chapter in a story that is still unfolding. He proved that glaciers weren't barren voids, but archives of human history. So what exactly are we finding in these melting time capsules? The finds are astoundingly diverse and give us a much richer picture of the past than traditional archaeology ever could. Let's start with hunting equipment. Archaeologists in Norway have found arrows from 300 years ago that are in near-perfect condition, with their iron arrowheads still attached and even remnants of the feather fletching and the sinew bindings intact. Think about that. The materials that guided an arrow's flight over a millennium ago, now in a scientist's hand. In the Yukon, a 300-year-old atlatl dart, a type of throwing spear that predates the bow and arrow, was found. It's the oldest known wooden foreshaft in North America. These finds aren't just objects. They tell us about technological evolution and what animals our ancestors hunted. In Norway, they even found 500-year-old scaring sticks, which were used to herd reindeer towards waiting hunters. Then there's clothing and textiles, which offer an incredibly intimate look into daily life. Imagine finding a 400-year-old leather shoe in Norway, or a 700-year-old tunic emerging from the Lenbreen ice patch. These aren't just scraps. They are fully formed garments that tell us about ancient weaving techniques, fashion, and how people innovated to survive in brutally cold environments. Travel and transport artifacts are also common. A complete 300-year-old ski, with its binding still attached, was discovered in Norway. Finds like this, along with fragments of sleds and even a Viking-age packhorse net, help archaeologists reconstruct ancient trade and travel routes. One site in particular, the Lenbreen ice patch in Norway, has revealed itself to be a lost mountain pass. It was a bustling corridor from the Roman Iron Age through the Viking Age, connecting inland communities with the coast. The ice has preserved the detritus of this ancient traffic, lost tools, clothing, and the remains of packhorses that didn't make the journey. And perhaps most profoundly, the ice preserves biological remains. Ötzi is the most famous, but has not alone. In the Canadian Yukon, the 300 to 550-year-old body of a young indigenous man was found. The local First Nations community named him Quade Dan Chunchi, meaning long ago person found. His discovery has been a powerful moment. connecting contemporary communities directly with an ancestor. While these finds can happen anywhere with perennial ice, a few key areas have become global hotspots for cryoarchaeology. Let's take a quick tour. We'll start in Scandinavia, particularly the mountains of Norway. A program called Secrets of the Ice has recovered over 4,000 artifacts from more than 60 sites. This is the epicenter of the field. The Lendebreen mountain pass I mentioned is one of their most significant sites. With over 1,000 artifacts, it paints a vivid picture of a high-altitude highway teeming with traders, farmers, and travelers for over 1,000 years. Now let's cross the Atlantic to North America, where the ice patches of Canada's Yukon Territory and the Rocky Mountains are uncovering indigenous heritage. The discovery of Quade Dancinci was a landmark event. In an amazing convergence of science and tradition, DNA analysis of his remains actually identified living relatives in the local Champagne and Aishihik First Nations. In the greater Yellowstone area, finds like the 300-year-old Atlatl dart are pushing back the timeline for high-altitude land use, proving that ancient peoples were adapting to these extreme environments far earlier than we thought. Of course, we have to revisit the European Alps, the region that gave us Otzi. Found at over 200 meters, his body was so well preserved that scientists determined he was around 45, had arthritis, and was murdered, with an arrowhead found lodged in his shoulder. But the Alps are still giving up secrets. In Switzerland, archaeologists found Bronze Age bows and a 4,000-year-old wooden lunchbox that still contained traces of ground flour. Finally, let's journey to the Andes Mountains in South America. Here, the focus has often been on high-altitude Inca sites. In 1999, 3 incredibly preserved frozen mummies of Inca children were discovered on the summit of Mount Lulayaco in Argentina at an altitude of over 700 meters. They were part of a ritual sacrifice, and their remains offer an unparalleled window into Inca religious practices. More recently, evidence of some of the world's highest Paleo-Indian settlements, dating back 13,000 years, has been found in the Peruvian Andes, showing just how early humans conquered these challenging landscapes. Recovering these artifacts is just the first step. A battery of scientific techniques turns them into detailed chronicles of the past. Radiocarbon dating is fundamental. It tells us the age of everything, from a wooden arrow shaft to a leather shoe, building a timeline for human activity. But the real game changer is ancient DNA, or aDNA analysis. The cold is perfect for preserving DNA. It allows scientists to trace the genetic ancestry of people like Otzi and Quade Dancinci, linking them to modern populations. It can even reveal predispositions to disease. We can also extract aDNA from animal remains, or even from the ice itself, to reconstruct entire ancient ecosystems. Stable isotope analysis adds another layer of detail. By looking at the ratios of elements like carbon and nitrogen in a bone or tooth, scientists can figure out what a person ate and even where they grew up. For Otzi, this analysis revealed his diet and tracked his movements across different valleys. Combined with pollen analysis and ice core data, which act as diaries of past climate conditions, scientists can place these human stories within their precise environmental context. They can see how human life was shaped by and adapted to a changing world. But all of this incredible science is defined by its challenges. Fieldwork is conducted in extreme, unpredictable environments. The field season is brutally short, sometimes just a few weeks in late summer. Archaeologists have to be skilled mountaineers, dealing with risks from blizzards to falls on unstable ice. Just finding the sites involves poring over satellite imagery to identify non-moving ice patches, which offer the best preservation, and then undertaking painstaking surveys on foot. The biggest challenge, however, is the race against decay. An artifact that has been stable for 5,000 years in the ice can disintegrate in a matter of days once exposed to sun, air, and moisture. Waterlogged wood and leather are especially vulnerable, As they dry, their cellular structures collapse. This makes immediate recovery and conservation critical. Conservators use techniques like freeze-drying, where an object is frozen and the water is removed under a vacuum. For larger wooden objects, they might use polyethylene glycol, or PEEG, to slowly replace the water in the wood's cells, a process that can take years. This work also brings up serious ethical questions, especially with human remains. In recent years, collaborative archaeology has become the standard. Researchers work in close partnership with indigenous communities, recognizing their deep connection to the land and the value of their traditional knowledge. Projects in the Yukon and Alaska involve indigenous representatives in every stage, from planning to interpretation. This ensures the research is respectful and enriches the science with cultural context. The future of cryoarchaeology is a paradox. As the climate crisis deepens, more discoveries are inevitable. New technologies like remote sensing and drones will help find and map sites more efficiently. But this is a field with a built-in expiration date. Scientists estimate that a huge percentage of the world's mountain ice could disappear by the end of this century. The window is closing. The work of cryoarchaeologists today is a salvage operation on a global scale, a mission to rescue our shared human heritage before it melts away forever. The stories emerging from the ice are a powerful testament to the ingenuity and resilience of our ancestors, and a poignant reminder of our deep, fragile connection to the environment. They are rewriting the past, while giving us a stark warning about our future.